Hello and welcome to the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast with your host, Kimberly Dunn of Idlewild Horsemanship and Mindset Coaching. This podcast is here to bring you the very best in tips, tricks, and advice to help you better understand yourself, your mindset, and your horse, because your horsemanship starts with you. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast. I am delighted to have you here today. And in today's episode, never fear, we have a little more structure than I've had the last couple of weeks. This one is going to be considerably less ranty and more educational. So settle in and let's go. So today I'm going to share a little kind of short, gentle insight into something that comes up a lot in my work with clients. It's something I use a lot with clients and in my own life too. And it's the idea that we have different parts of ourselves that we're working with. And I actually looked at this with an enlightened equestrian program client this week. And I thought, you know what, I need to talk about this. So I'm going to keep it simple for the sake of the podcast today and for keeping things really kind of tangible and understandable. Is that a word? Probably not. Um, so there's a few different nuances to the practice of this. And there's you'll hear things like internal family systems, all kinds of different things. But for this today, I'm just going to talk about us having two selves. So we have the protective self and we have the boundless self. So the self that wants to go and do things. So let's have a look here at this. So protective parts. So the protector part is the part of you that steps in to protect you from harm, from pain, from risk, from rejection, from shame, all the stuff we don't particularly want. And this protective self can show up through avoidance, procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, control, overthinking, emotional shutdown, or fear spirals. And this protective self usually is formed, well, it is formed for a really good reason. It's to help you survive something. So, if you've experienced, we've all experienced trauma in our lives, whether that's big or small. So it might be something that you would consider as something, quite traumatic or dramatic. Or it might even be like really insignificant, seemingly insignificant things that happened when we were kids or at school or whatever. Either way, whatever the reason, this part was formed by your mind to help keep you safe. It helped you survive something. It's not bad. It's not a part of you that you want to get rid of or reject. It just doesn't always realize that you are actually safe in this moment. It kind of overcompensates a little bit. And any kind of clue that you get from your outside world that you might not be quote unquote safe, it pops up to, it's that little voice that's there like, oh, are you sure that's okay? Oh, shouldn't we be careful? Or it'll pop up in your body, in your nervous system and send you, those feelings of anxiety or fear that kind of help keep you small. So what's really, really important to understand about this protector part of you, and something that's often misunderstood about it, is that it's here to help you. It's here to keep you safe, and it's not something that we want to reject. It's something that we really need to look on as part of us, our own selves, with compassion, and with gratitude. It's there for a reason. It's there to keep us alive and safe from harm. The problem, though, is that while these parts of us, these protective parts, are trying to help and are trying to keep us safe, sometimes they can overcorrect, and they can see threat everywhere, even where there's actually potential for growth, for love, for connection, for joy with your horse. Relating this back to our horses. Um, if it sees a threat, that's when it pops up. Okay, so that's the protective self. And then you have the boundless self. So this is the part of you that already knows who you are underneath all of the noise, all of the outside world. So it's the part of you that knows what you're capable of. It's calm, it's wise, it's confident, it's connected, it's joyful, and it's brave. This is the part of you that wants to go and do things. And this part will feel grounded, clear, free to make choices, to have ideas, to want to try things, open hearted, almost childlike. And you don't have to force it, it just comes online whenever you feel relaxed, whenever you feel safe to start imagining things, to start wishing for things, hoping for things, imagining things. Um, so, yeah, that's when it's going to pop up for you. Now, again, what's really, really important to note here is this isn't about you trying to get rid of your protective self and keep your boundless self. You need your protective self. But what it is about is to get them to collaborate, to integrate. Okay. And that we dive, if you ever work with me or you have worked with me, we probably will have looked at this and we dive a lot deeper into it. We look at where this protective part has come from because there's many different kind of versions of a protector part. We look at where it's come from, why it's there, and how we can work together to integrate it. Um, but here, I just want you to kind of start to become aware of this protective self popping up so that you can kind of on your own start to lead it gently from, holding you in that spot where it's keeping you still and safe but small and to kind of working to negotiate a little bit for yourself. So, here's some things you can start kind of practicing. Um, I want you to start noticing when you find yourself stuck in a loop of fear, of shutdown or second guessing. So I don't know, let's say you want to go hack out or trail ride out your horse with a friend and you start worrying about it and you start thinking, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? Should I really be doing this? Should I just stop? And then, of course, you have this other thought pop up in your mind, like, no, I'll be fine. Let's just go. And then this other part pops up, yeah, but, and that's where these two come into conflict. So I want you to start noticing that happening. Just take a pause and ask, what part of me is speaking right now? And if it does feel like it's that protective part of you, ask, what's it trying to protect me from? What is it trying to protect me from? And then ask, what does this part need from me to feel a bit safer just for today? And it's not about fixing it all in that moment. It's about like starting the narrative in your mind, starting that conversation and working to make things to introduce a little bit of ease. Because when we just try and shut this part down, when we just try and shove it in a box and shut it up, it gets louder. And that's when things become a real problem. So I want you to think about kind of like having that negotiation in your mind. So that might look like, the thought pops up of this isn't safe, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. And I want you to pause and just think to yourself, right, okay, so yeah, of course, it's a possibility. We're thinking about a live animal here that is not a robot that I can't control. But can we just remember that I have the knowledge, I have the skills to deal with that if it pops up, which it might not, it's not a guarantee. What if, you remember that you can break this down? This doesn't have to be this big scary thing, you can break it down. Kind of like chat with your protector part about it. And that's how you can start the conversation. That's how you can start the self awareness and start to move from a place of a little more confidence and a little more integration rather than, again, just it popping up and taking over everything. So, just to explain a little deeper, the struggle occurs when our mindset is aware and you kind of know, you start to know that you have this boundless self, but the programmed self of you is still running the behavior. So, this part of you, by the way, is mostly subconscious. You don't really know it's happening. once you start to become aware of it, that's where you can start to kind of have those negotiations. So, this protective part of you is the part of you that wants to indulge in the self sabotaging patterns, to seek that comfort, that safety, and that familiarity, even of the expense of you not getting what you truly want, what your goals are with your horse, what you're working towards. And then this boundless self is that pure, aware, awake, lucid part of you that makes choices that are in alignment with your highest well-being long term, with actually what you want and need from life. And this part can make choices that might feel risky or vulnerable, bold, honest, courageous. But that's because it knows your true nature and what you really want. Its focus isn't on protecting you. Its focus is on, looking at the miracles in life, looking at all the fun things that you want to be doing and achieving. And again, just to reiterate, the goal is not to get rid of your protective self. It's to change the story you tell yourself about who you really are. Okay. So again, just coming back to like what the protective self is made up of. So the protective self comes from your own inherited conditioning. It seeks safety and familiarity. It can look like connecting with instant gratification because that feels safe, just getting something straight away. It can look like insecurity, jealousy, fear, anxiety. It probably wants to belong in a group. So we'll just kind of go along with peer pressure because that feels easier. It judges and compares itself. It will look for survival of things. So, what's the easiest option? It can look like avoidance and complacency. Will quickly blame external forces and mainly to protect you. So, if something's challenging you from the outside, then it will blame that rather than looking at you in the picture of this, if that makes sense, to keep your own self-image that you have right now safe. When often the growth can come from you looking at you and thinking, I wonder if I should change that or grow from this. It often has scarcity-based tendencies, lacks trust in life, self, and others. It can look like really kind of coming back to victimhood rather than looking at how you can grow from things. It's easier to be the victim and only references the past to look forward to the future. So it's not open to possibilities of things and new ways of doing things. It just references what you've already done. So that's kind of what comes with the protective self. And again, it's not to say we want to get rid of this. I'm just teaching you about it so you know what to recognize. So let's now look at your boundless self. So your boundless self seeks the edge of growth. It behaves in harmony with long-term vision. It takes courageous action. There's a part of you that thinks, why not? Let's go. Let's do this. It understands and will integrate flow and discipline. So that's that part of you that wants to show up and do the thing and keep showing up and keep practicing. It is a part of you that will stay true to you, no matter what other people are saying, no matter what other people are doing, knows what you want and sticks with that. It's a part of you that's connected to your own worthiness. It's a part of you that has that unconditional self acceptance and understands responsibility. The part of you that trusts in yourself, that trusts in your partnership with your horse. So, another really good question to ask when you think about recognizing which part of you is in the driver's seat is what version of you makes better decisions? What version of you is fit to look at that partnership with your horse, is fit to take action with your horse or do what needs to be done in that moment? And again, we need to remember that your protective self has purpose. You've only survived this long up to today because your protective self has been there. It's kept you safe. And you do have need for this self. So we don't want to look at bypassing and denying our struggles, any of our trauma, anything that's happened to us, our history, and all our experience in life and with horses. But what we do want to do is find the part of us that's powerful and aware enough to not live according to this protective part that might throw victimhood your way, that might be reacting rather than responding to things. And everything serves you at some level. So everything that your protective part offers up or tries to do to keep you safe, it's there to keep you alive. But is it efficient for us to get emotional or worried or anxious about a horse? No, not really. Is it efficient to feel like we're not good enough for a horse? No. So, what happens then is we start to, because this is kind of running the program in the background, we start to then say no to things, to situations where feeling bad is going to happen. So we start to not do things. We start to say no to the hacks, no to the competitions, no to trying new things with our horse subconsciously, because that part's like, yeah, if we say no, we're going to stay safe. But this isn't going to help us to grow. This isn't going to connect with our horse on the level that we want. So this is where working to integrate this part is really, really important. And thinking about, okay, who am I going to choose to be today? What part am I going to let into the driver's seat? How can I get them both to sit in the front of the car of our mind and work together and read a map together and just talk nicely to each other in the journey of life. So again, that's where you can really focus on, right? Okay. So how am I feeling? Where is this coming from? What part of me is running the show right now? And can we change things up? Can we invite a little bit more kind of openness and positivity and joy into this? And kind of remind ourselves what we're capable of and then move forward from that space. So I hope that made sense. Um, and if this episode sparked something for you, and maybe you've recognized a part of yourself that's been in that driver's seat lately, maybe you're curious about how to shift that into a more grounded and empowered way of showing up with your horse and in your life, then please drop me an email, send me a DM on Instagram. Because if you're curious about working together, we can work to integrate these parts. It's a really, really interesting practice. It's one of my favorite things to do with clients because it is really effective at bringing about change, and just bringing a bit more kind of compassion and understanding into our own mindsets as well. Yeah, so we can have a chat about how we can work together. I do have a couple of spaces that have now opened up for the rest of the summer. So drop me a line. And if you enjoyed this episode, if you found it insightful, then it would mean the world if you could take a moment to rate, review, or share it with someone who might need to hear this today. And until next time, be gentle with yourself, with your mind. Understand that it's there to help you ultimately. And if we can be compassionate, if we can work together in our own mind with all these different parts that pop up, then we can stay connected to that boundless self that's within us. We can connect to that confident, joyful self that wants to go and do the things and can do them with ease. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Questions or comments, same thing, drop me an email and I'll see you in the next one.